Hi and welcome to another episode of the Getting Things Done podcast from GTD Nordic. I am Morten and I'm here as always with my good friend and colleague Lars Rotskil Hendriksen. God dag, Lars.
Hello, friend and colleague Morten Røvik. Good to see you as always, and looking forward to recording another episode for our listeners and viewers out there. For those of you who have not listened before, the purpose of this podcast is to help you learn GTD or becoming even better GTDers. So we hope that this episode supports you in that. And if you're new to GTD, we always recommend you go back and listen to the first episodes of the podcast. Episodes 1 through 6 cover the basics of GTD. This is episode number 58 of the podcast. And as always, I'll throw it back to you, Morten, to share with our listeners what the topic of the day is.
Well, today we have two topics. We decided to talk about the level 3 because both Lars and me are in certification process of becoming certified level 3 trainers.
We're not certified yet, as you can hear. We're not able to say it, but we're at the end of the certification.
Exactly. So hopefully at the end of the certification, we will be able to certifiably talk about it. So... But we will give it a shot. That is number one. And then we will have something we've dubbed pre-New Year review, which is going to be Lars coaching Lars.
That is the episode title today. I'm coaching myself.
Yeah, Lars coaches himself in the pre-New Year review. So just to dive into the first topic, the level 3 certification that we are inside, we've just attended something that's called a T3 trainer workshop. Maybe we should just give the listeners and the viewers a little overview on what is a T3 and what do we do there and what do we do after. Would you try and take us through that a little?
Well, since you're actually the master trainer, then you're probably more equipped to speak to this. But let me speak to it from the participant perspective. So we spent the days in the start of November online a lot with a lot of different and interesting people from across the world. I think 14 different time zones was the count. So we met online, and the way this works is that we first go through the seminar, and we participate as participants. So we walk through the material in that perspective, experiencing what it's like to actually participate in the seminar. And I think for us, it was a bit different because we had both attended, I believe, back in 2018, was it, in Amsterdam?
That's right, 2018.
Yeah, so we had both participated in the physical version, and now, obviously, since this was online, this was the virtual version of the seminar. So that was the starting point, and that was with all the upcoming trainers to be certified, but also regular participants. So I think we were around 20 people participating from all across the world. Yes. From I think from Colombia to Australia. Really, a lot of different people, a lot of different time zones, a lot of different times of the day that people participate. So we were part of that. And then the subsequent 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we spent, and actually a bit of Thursday as well, spent time walking through this material, learning how to deliver it, walking through the exercise, discussing them, sharing our experience with them, perspectives on this, and also had a lot of time with David Allen and Catherine and Anna Maria and everyone in the GTD world that really have worked with this material for the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah. For David, it's more like 50, but yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, so I do agree with you. Good overview. So it's two main parts. As you know, when you do this as a master trainer, you would plan to do the delivery for the seminar itself, and then you will help the trainers to walk through the material, understand the material, ask the questions that you might have. What do you have cognitive dissonance on, and to do the exercises in depth yourself, which is what I found very interesting for me is because it's another level.
Mm.
So the level 3 is called focus and direction. Why is that important, Lars, to have focus and direction?
Yeah, why do we need that? I don't know.
Yeah,
Can
I
we?
don't know. Yeah, well, some people. Now, well, let's just stop for a while because some people tell me when I talk to them that's about the importance of having focus and direction, and they say, well, I don't want I don't want to know what my life is supposed to be about. I want to just live. I just want to be. And is that wrong?
Well, I think that's where at least I recognize myself, and thinking through coaching clients and different people that I know of their journey, that can actually that can work. I think a lot of people when they pick up GTD, we see that they learn the basics, they get things under control and are comfortable with that, and if that's what you get out of GTD, then great, that'll certainly help you a lot. And then I think at some point for many people there will be a point where you start to reflect on where am I actually going, because
Mm,
at least if I reflect on my career pre GTD, it was really just following the direction set by my manager or the company or other important people in my life. Let's put it that way.
mm,
Um, so it was I was comfortable doing that, and that led me to some really cool places. What I came across at some point was that I was heading in a direction that I did not want to actually go to.
mm,
So I was heading towards some really cool roles in really big projects, and that was really what I was aiming for back then. But when I reflected on what their lives were like, and what I wanted my life to be like, it just did not make sense at all. It did not,
mm,
come together. So where I was heading was actually not the right path,
yeah,
and that is where the direction came into play for me. I don't
mm.
know. What about you, Mon?
No, I just want to go back to that. What my initial question there is that is it when I this originated my first time I heard this was many years ago. There's a French Canadian living in Norway who was attending one of my seminars, and he said, "But Morten, I don't want to have a big project for my life. I don't want to know. My life should just happen." And what I told him is that, you don't want to plan your life, but that is also a plan, and that is
Hmm.
his values. Is my life should just happen. So if that is yours, just write that down, and you're done. But for many of other people, myself included, it's if I don't have, the 5 steps of GTD gives you the control of the boat. So imagine you are throwing yourself. Suddenly, you understand you're in a boat. You're in an ocean, and you don't know how to handle the boat, and you don't know where you're going. So the first thing you need to get is to get a grip on how the boat works, so you can steer somewhere. So that's the 5 step of GTD. Now we have that under control, then it will be interesting maybe to understand where am I going it really. Because if you don't take the helm and create a navigational map where you are going in this boat trip of yours, that's life, you are going to end up somewhere. And what dictates where you end up is what kind of currents and winds and outer elements are pushing your boat in which direction. And in the human life, this currents and winds and waves and whatnot that push and pull on the boat are people you meet, things you read, things you hear your father or mother say, or some uncle say you must do this, and a teacher says maybe this, and when you're young, it's very difficult to find the path of life. I remember that when I was young, it's really not easy to think about what do I want to
Hmm.
be and what's my life purpose, and all I wanted. When I heard that, I just said, "Give me a beer." Um, so my personal view on this is that when you've managed to get your boat under control, you understand you can go somewhere, then the next question is going to be, where am I going? And it can be perfectly fine to be comfortable with just drifting. somewhere. But it's not necessary to create something that has to do with the focus and direction or horizons of focus. But if you want, it will be good for you. It's going to help you in finding what is my end goal, what's my values, what's my principles, what's my vision for my life, and trying to figure that out, because it's going to give you direction if you want that. And if you want that, Lars will now tell you what is the horizons of focus and what you put there, and why is it important to have coherence between your everyday next actions in your everyday life with your longer term horizons.
Yeah, so I think we don't necessarily need to dive deep in those, but there is a former episode that you can find in the podcast feed where we walk through the different horizons of focus. I think back in the early episodes we actually walk through those. But the brief reminder is that those of you out there are already using GTD, you probably have your list of next actions, what you'll be doing right now. You have your calendar to help you navigate where you want to be or should be at any given time during the day or week. You have your projects up to, maybe 3 to 12 months, everything that requires more than one action step to complete, to finding that desired outcome where you want to be. And above that is Horizon 2 areas of focus and accountability. So what are you responsible for? What do you have your focus on that you want to maintain at certain standards? So not something that we check off, but things that we want to maintain and be aware of, and also a great checklist to make sure that there's balance. Work-life balance for me comes a lot from this horizon. Horizon 3, meaning goals and objectives. So if we look a bit further into the future, 1 to 2 years, maybe a bit longer, where do we actually want to be? Where do we have specific sort of targets, goals, objectives, as the name states? Where do we actually want to head off to? Horizon 4 being vision. So what's the ideal scenario when everything works together? If you look even further into the future, what does that look like? And Horizon 5, purpose and principles. So what's the purpose for you? What's the purpose for the company? What are the principles and boundaries that you work within? And that's some of the things that we really dive into in the Level 3 seminar. It really is so interesting to work with. And as we spoke about pre-show, there are some actions, activities, thoughts that come out of participating in the Level 3 seminar. I think we both had that experience that even though this was, much of this was not new to us, both from the GTD book, but also from having participated before, that we kind of knew what we were going into. It's still, for me, both in the seminar and the preparation work that we did before attending, sparked several actions relating to my higher horizons in making them even more clear for me, I think is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, me too. So to revisit your higher horizons is important to make them, because your life changes, and your situation changes. Suddenly we have Corona. Suddenly Corona go. And suddenly you come back. Suddenly you have challenges at work, maybe, and maybe your challenges at your personal, your personal life, and you have to keep it up to date. So that's very important to do, and just to end this little discussion about this with I wouldn't call it a high note, but just an information for those of you who are interested in this level, is that both Lars and I will be doing Level 3 practice seminars, and after we have done them, we are ready for delivery for anyone who wants to have that in the Nordic region. I know we have a lot of listeners outside of Norway and Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland, so I'm sorry, guys. You have very good partners around the world. Go to gettingthingsdone.com if you're interested in this, to learn more about this. And if you want to learn more about this, listening to this is Making It All Work. Making It All Work, David's third book. Read that. That's by the way, prerequisite reading for both Lars and me before we had this training, which I've just and it's a very good book on the higher horizons. So
absolutely,
yeah, and And Lars will be doing. You will be doing yours physical somewhere for
Yes.
practice
So
seminars.
so Corona permitting,
Yep.
still fingers crossed on that one. Then I'm looking to deliver these as a physical seminars over 2 days. That's
Mm.
my current thinking.
Mm. And I'll do mine virtually over 3 days, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours. I think is the. And we talk about January sometime where we will be doing this in.
Yeah, I think that's the realistic timeline
Mm.
for me, at least. Need
Mm.
to just do a bit of planning, making sure that all the people who have indicated their interest are still ready to go, and
Mm.
I still need to just do a bit of planning when it comes to the material. I like to do these over 2 days, just like the level 2 seminars. We do them
Mm.
over 2 days in Denmark, just to give people some more time. And you can sleep on things. You can some new things always show up. At least
Mm.
they do for me and the people participating in Denmark. There's always some cool stuff that happens overnight. So
Mm.
I like to take 2 days for these
Yeah.
bigger
Mm.
thinking seminars.
And I will even go further. I will do it over 3 days, so two
Yeah.
nights to sleep on it. No, it's going to be virtual, and I'm thinking about opening up for the other Nordic countries, excluding Denmark. So Norway, Sweden, Finland, and maybe Iceland for those who have. And there is a prerequisites here, so you have to have either attended a level 2 seminar at some point in your life, or have had coaching on the same level. So if you are a coaching client, you might be eligible for attending. And we will do this at not full price, reduced price. Pricing is not ready yet. So if you're interested, check out gtdnordic.dk and gtdnordic.no, and you will find more information after. Sign up for a newsletter. That's maybe a good idea to
Yeah, that's a
get
good one.
information about this. So now, okay. Are you ready to coach yourself in the pre-New Year review?
I could maybe just give a brief introduction as to why it's framed like this. But no, when we record these episodes, I always brainstorm a bit in the morning. What would be cool to talk about? We have,
Mm.
of course, a place where we capture all the ideas, listener questions that come from you guys, feedback, things like that. And one thing that came up for me was, actually, maybe take a step back. The things that often come up for me are things that I've most recently come across in the GTD world.
Mm.
And one thing was an interesting reflection on a recent seminar for a big client here in Denmark, where some of the things that they highlighted that they really appreciated about the seminar was the validation and sort of giving them the freedom just to write things down. So
Mm.
I thought that was kind of interesting that this was actually an outcome of the seminar was that, it's cool. You can write things down. We're good. That is actually required for you to maintain your sanity in this really high-paced
Mm.
company that I was working with.
Mm.
So that was one thing, and the other one was something that I think probably that I needed, and that was a more thorough weekly review. And the reason that also came up
Mm.
was, well, first of all, it's because that I find the need right now to do a bit more planning, and I also know that some people actually enjoy this exercise a bit before we approach, the new year, and
Mm.
that we actually get a chance to stop and plan a bit. It's sort of a different milestone for obviously for the people that use the same calendar as us, but it's sort of a milestone to plan towards, maybe zoom out a bit more, and an opportunity to do a more deep weekly review and plan a bit more as to what can you expect to have done, or what needs to maybe be postponed, put on hold, someday maybe, whatever the shape that might take. So that's where this came from, this topic that Lars coaches himself.
Yeah,
And
because
hopefully you'll chime in, Morten.
yeah, I will. No, I mean, jokingly, Lars is going to coach himself, but sometimes when we raises topics, as Lars said, it is because either one of us has an interest in this topic right now, and yeah. So we had a little different take on this. In the pre-show, we talked a little about, what's my take Because you do a yearly review and you do half-year review. Is this correct?
Yeah, I think they've sort of over time merged into being the same kind of thing. So it's that big review I do twice a year now.
Hmm.
That's basically the case. I do take different approaches based on what I feel like. For example, do I bring my higher horizons with me and review them and reflect on them, or do I just walk out into nature or to the beach or whatever and
Hmm.
just bring blank pieces of paper and see what shows up? So,
Hmm.
for example, there are variations in that, but I like to do one in the summer break and one between Christmas and New Year's. That's sort of my regular approach for the bigger reviews.
Hmm. So because the when we did this talk about this in the pre-show is that I normally I don't do either of that, you know,
Hmm.
don't do big ones, but and I'm more you know, there's no right and wrong here. Just want to point that out for people.
Hmm.
Even though I'm a master trainer, no, but it is no right and wrong because whatever makes you tick, whatever works for you, is getting things done. Is not religion, people. It's a framework for thinking about, you know, potential commitments and life choices. Where do you want to
Hmm.
go with your life, and how can you get there? So
Direction.
yeah, so my thinking about this is that every week I do a thorough weekly review. Sometimes when life throws me off the horse, it does. Sometimes, and I don't do a weekly review, and you know, a bi-weekly review. But best practice, always do it weekly. And when
Hmm.
I do that, when I'm doing them, I'm reflecting on my higher horizons at the same time to make sure that when I decide something, should it go on my list now or should it wait? And I always try and visit my higher horizons and ask myself, how does this align with my higher horizons? So I'm reflecting on them every week, and for my life purpose, that's kind of like tattooed in my brain, so that's not going to go away. So I feel that as long as my direction is correct, according to my higher horizons, I don't need that recalibration
Hmm.
that apparently you need
Hmm.
for find your direction. So how are you planning to do your pre-New Year review, and why?
Well,
Why do you need to do that?
I do know this. So like I said, from myself, but
Mm-hmm.
but I do know this from a lot of other people as well. That like when we do have this kind of milestone coming up, it's a nice opportunity to maybe reframe some of the things that you have on your system, and in our world, and I think in many others as well, there seems to be some year-end activities and some more things going on these days approaching Christmas that yeah, the calendar seems to be more booked,
Mm-hmm.
and that means less time to tick things off your list. So for me, what can happen and has happened in this case is that when I look at my list right now, they're too long.
Mm-hmm.
That's simply the case. That I look at my projects list, and that probably needs to have a few of them taken off. And when I look at my list of next actions, the same is the case. And I need to sort of replan some of these things, reprioritize, probably put some things on hold. And it's
Mm-hmm.
nice to have sort of this natural boundary for thinking. So during the year, I will look typically 3 to 4 years, not 3 to 4 years, 3 to 4 weeks into the future
Mm-hmm.
when I look at my calendar. There is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks, maybe even longer in the bigger reviews that I do. Um, but now it seems that there's sort of a natural boundary for how far ahead you can think and try to figure out, so what can I actually expect to get done in this time frame. What do I want to have available on the menu of options when I sit down to do some work as we approach Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the key thing for me, and maybe for some of you listening out there, would be first of all to do a really thorough mind sweep right now, to really think things through and see what shows up or
Mm-hmm.
what is on your list. For example, if you have your list of areas of focus, maybe bring those in and reflect and brainstorm based on those. Is
Mm-hmm.
there anything you need to do, might want to think about, etc.
A system
That
guides has great trigger lists as well, so it might be
absolutely, yeah.
if you have don't have them, you can buy them. The system,
You
GTD
can
system
buy
does. I
them,
don't
and
know.
for those of you who have attended a level 1 seminar as part of your reinforced learning program with MindMarker, you have them available in your resources as well, so you can find them in there. So that's one thing I'll certainly be doing, just giving myself a bit more time. It's a step that I rarely use a lot of time on because the capture habit is just so natural during the week for me that stuff rarely shows up. I don't know if it's the same for you as well, Morten.
Yeah, I capture all the time, so it doesn't. There's no
Mm.
surprises.
No.
But let me ask you a question, so that when, just for the listeners to understand
Mm.
this, that if you imagine you find a project on your list when doing an pre-New Year review, where you
Mm.
find that I have too much on my plate, active projects now. How do you handle that? What do you do with the active projects? Do you place them
Mm.
somewhere else, or?
Yeah, exactly. So in my list manager, I have different places where these things can go. So I have the traditional someday maybe list where things can go. I have variations on that for different topics, things that I only want to review on a more or less frequent basis. So maybe someday weekly, no, sorry, someday maybe once a
Someday
month.
weekly review.
Someday weekly, maybe capture, clarify, reflect. Uh, no, but you know, less frequent review.
Mhm.
And also the person that the mind that I have is really works really well with the tickler file. So
Mm.
having somewhere where I can, set a reminder for myself, remind me when we get to March 1st that I
Mm.
want to maybe pick this up again.
Mm.
Then the question is if this is an active project where I already have done a lot of thinking and maybe started doing some work, I already generated some support material for this. If that's already the case in my system, I'll take that whole project with the support material and park that on either the someday maybe list or my on hold list. So
Mm.
the parking lot that is not maybe, it's someday, ideally as soon as possible. So that's sort of as soon as I have more room in the projects list, I can then reactivate those. So they'll
Mm.
go there, and that's my expectation for this week's review, to spend a bit more time on that and make sure that the active projects are the ones that I want
Mm.
to focus on for the next 2 months.
Mm. I'm curious to hear what you would say to this following question, because I think a lot of people will say, well, how do I understand that I have the right amount of projects on my active
Mm.
project list? What would your answer to that be?
How would I say? Great question. You should ask Morten. He's the master trainer from.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it really is. And it's curious that I actually don't get that question a lot, and I was actually expecting to get that a
Mm.
lot, because I would, especially, maybe that's just reflection on who I am, but I would love to know. So David says you have to have 37 active projects. That would be great for me. Okay, so I'll have 37 slots that I could
Mm.
fill with these kinds of things. But
Mm.
with the broad definition of the projects, there's just no right number.
No.
So it really is a gut feeling for me as to how much, when I look at the projects, I have a pretty
Mm.
clear picture of what needs to happen for each of these. How much do I need to then put, how much room do I actually have in my
Mm.
calendar, and taking all these things into consideration. So it would be really cool if there was a way to actually, have this automated in some kind of
Ah,
way. I actually just
that
spoke
that
to
that does not happen.
no, exactly. I just spoke to a guy that they'll try to support you in this. So there's a Danish software company working on some cool things, but no, there were, as soon as we get to that stage, I think the robots will anyway have taken over your work, because if they're that smart that they can plan that much, taking all the
Yeah,
unplanned work into consideration,
yeah.
I think I'll be ideally, hopefully, lying on a beach somewhere and just enjoying it, letting the robot handle all this, because if they're that smart,
Mm.
then they probably know how to do your work as
Yeah.
well. Would
Well,
you have a more kind way to
I
to
do.
answer that
I
question?
do. No, that if you look at the methodology is, David Allen says that you need to have your attention on what has your attention, which is twofold thing. Is that what has your attention, you have to write it down, but you also have to have your attention on how does the list make me feel.
Hmm.
So David would talk about, does your project list attract you, or does it not? Do you
Hmm.
feel overwhelmed by looking at it? if you feel a little overwhelmed on everything that's on your projects list, then maybe it's time to renegotiate that commitment with yourself and your colleagues and put it on a projects on hold list, or maybe go back to or put it on the someday maybe, because the productive experience is a very exact science in the moment. So 1 week I might find myself having 10 active projects and I feel on top of the world. That the week after 10 could be too much for me because there's too much going on under the radar. Maybe something happened at home. Maybe I'm upset for something. Maybe I feel we have a family member that's not well, that worries me. And then 10 is too much. So but to start using your emotions as indicators if you are productive or not is very helpful. So if you feel stressed, why are you stressed? If you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, why do I feel overwhelmed? Well, I have too much to do. Well, then decrease what you have to do so that you feel comfortable. Maybe you have not captured the worrying point in your life yet. Maybe you should just capture that, your worry, and ask yourself, can I do something about this? And then clarify and organize it. Maybe you will feel better. But have your attention on what has your attention, making sure that if you feel overwhelmed when you look at your projects, that is what I will tell. You have too much. Downsize.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. And it's just to give people
and
a
no
more
machine can do that. Sorry.
No, exactly. So coming back to the robot.
Yeah.
No, and just to give we normally have a lot of projects going on. At least most people do. The people that I had in a recent level 2 seminar in Denmark were saying maybe 50, 70 projects going on in their lives. So really a lot of big and small things going on. And just a reflection on actually coming back from level 3. So one of the things that I wanted to do as part of making my projects list more attractive to me is also to reflect on the titling, the naming of the projects, because the projects are well defined in my world. They are according to the GTD specs for a project, but they don't all really inspire me. Let's put it that way. They don't all really describe a well-defined scenario that I want to be at. So some of the things that we talk about in the level 3 seminar are these affirmations where you can describe, how you would like the world to be, and projects can be a version of that. And based on that learning / reflection from the level 3 train the trainer workshop that we did, it's actually on my list to say I have a next action to run through my projects list and see if I could tweak the titles. So that's perhaps also part of this year or pre-New Year's weekly review to run through and make sure that these are actually the way I want to see them on my list.
Yeah, I do think that is a good idea. I do that myself on a regular basis, especially if I find myself looking at a project and I'm not attracted to it. And that might be it's something I don't know how to do, or there's some kind of inner emotional resistance to that, and then I will ask myself again, what has my attention here? Why am I not attracted to this project? Why is it? Often it's because I don't know how to handle this. I don't know if you ever had that, but I have this every now and then. Things show up on my radar. Hey, you have to do this, and then you have to do that. And then I ask myself, okay, how do we do that? We are in the process getting better at inbound marketing. We are, Lars, we have had many discussions around this topic because we want to make sure that people understand what we are doing. What are your pain points, and how can we market to you so that you understand what getting things done is. And I always come back to the thinking that we are trying to help people with a problem they don't know they have. Or if they know they have it, they don't know that there is a solution to it, and that's our biggest challenge. So one of the things that I've found important for my project is then to go back to the project definition. So what is my desired outcome here, and and I've found that tweaking them helps. And I also give myself permission to put in a smiley emoji, for instance, if I'm not attracted to it, or an exclamation mark, or some what I call flower words. Instead of seminar done, it's seminar successfully done with clapping or something like that. I don't know how you do to, to make sure that you are appropriately engaged with whatever has your attention or what you need to do. But I do that. Some people thinks when I show them this, says this is not for me at all. But for me, who's very visually driven, the small emojis and the little exclamation marks and some what I call flower words makes it more attractive to me, and that makes me tick. So there you have it.
And also if you have a list manager that supports it, you can maybe add some color.
Yeah, you
Again,
could.
this
Yeah.
sounds fluffy, but it really makes a big difference for some
Yeah.
people that need to have more visually appealing list. So I have on my list. I don't think I'm particularly in that target group, but it's nice to have for example, I have a project group, which is a list of date-specific events happening, so speeches, seminars, things like that. They have their different colors based on whether they are physical or virtual, for example, what type of event this is. So that's part of what I've built into my system is that, okay, that's an orange one, that's a virtual seminar, and that's a dark berry, I think it's called, and that's a physical seminar, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's nice. It just makes the list more attractive, more easy to get an
Yeah.
overview.
Whatever makes you tick. And I just want to mention here, because it is easy to then end up in productivity pornography. That is, you're fiddling with your system more than doing the stuff. So make sure that you're not procrastinating your real job by, creating color codes and putting emojis inside. But do it because you really you think that will help you be more attracted to this. So. Cool. What format? Where would I see you do your pre-New Year review? Would it be in the office, with your alone, with your spouse?
So this will really be just in quotations, just an extension of a normal weekly review. So I'll maybe set aside a bit more time. I just had a coaching client reschedule, so I suddenly have a full day of space in my calendar now. So I know I can find some more time to walk through this. So it's not where I would do my half-year reviews, maybe offsite by myself somewhere, ideally inspiring and nice. In this case, this will just be an extended version of a normal weekly review.
Okay, so you just spend more time on it. That's it.
Yeah.
Will you do it in the office, or will you go outside?
Think a bit more at the office. Yeah.
At the office.
I know some people really like to do it and go to cafe and do it, and I would be so distracted if I was sitting in a cafe. I would have to listen to all the things that people were saying, and that no, I'm comfortable here. I have my cockpit set up. Yeah. I have nice and quiet surroundings. I'm ready to go when I sit here.
Okay, yeah. No, because I'm sometimes attracted to, when I do my reviews, to go somewhere and sit. Especially when I'm traveling, that's, if I don't have a cockpit, I'll go, any cockpit will do. And just my noise cancelling earbuds and some soft music and good coffee and some cinnamon buns, and I'm done.
Yeah, no, I've tried it. I've tried it multiple times. I do like the idea. I do like you can treat yourself at the end or at the beginning to trigger this. So you can make a small event out of it. It's nice. I like the idea. In practice, that's just not for me.
No, okay. I have just this romantic idea that Lars is on the beach at the summer house where he sits in his shorts and with just pad of paper and gazes out in the sea and yeah. Okay.
Freezing, as I live in Denmark, so the beach is.
I was thinking about more like the midsummer review.
Yeah, that is hopefully the case in the summer.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel maybe we have covered this topic good, the pre-New Year review.
I think the key thing was just to reflect a bit more on the weekly review and get that really good mind sweep in there, reflect on the list that you have, taking the perspective into case that the new year is approaching. Maybe that puts a slightly different spin on some of the things you have on your list and what happens in your calendar. And hopefully that'll help people to do a better weekly review, get more prepared for the upcoming days and weeks. And let us know if that works for you.
So, Lars, are you happy with your coach, Lars?
Yes. Yeah, I will send a very nice evaluation, and I'll forward that on to my my master coach and see what she says about my my evaluation of my.
That's good. Okay, good. I think we're at the end, and thank you everybody for listening. And Lars, he will take us out.
Yes, as always. Just a quick reminder, Morten mentioned it as we were walking through the level 3 options. If you're outside the Nordics, gettingthingsdone.com is the place to go to find your local partner. For those of you in the Nordics, gtdnordic.com. That's where you can go to find the local country websites, gtdnordic.no for Norway, .dk for Denmark, etc. And on each of those sites, you will find all the offerings that we have, different news articles, perspectives on GTD, all of that good stuff. So head on over to GTD Nordic and find your way to your local country there. And just a reminder, we have started actually for a while now, been posting these recordings on YouTube as well. And we're seeing more and more feedback on that channel as well. So for those of you who would like to watch instead, that's really cool. Thanks for the feedback on those channels. So head on over to our YouTube channels. You can find the episodes there as well. And lastly, as always, we really hope that you find these episodes valuable. And if you do, we really appreciate if you maybe share an episode with a colleague or rate us in your podcast player. That really helps the discoverability. So thanks to those of you who always do that. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. And until next time, people, stay safe and stay productive. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.